Thursday, February 4th, 2010. We're here with David Lundy in the Lundy Studios in Barberville, Kentucky. And he will be interviewed by Timi Reedy and Tammy Clemons and our guest, Harry Rice, Berea College Sound Archivist. So thank you very much, David, for your time. We're really excited to be here and to have the chance to talk to you. Woo-hoo.
Well, I'm glad you're here. It's an honor to be interviewed today, and I'm glad you came. And it's good to do it. Glad to do it.
We really appreciate it. So first we want to learn about you.
Yeah. So where are you from, Mr. Lundy?
I'm from Barberville, Kentucky. Born and raised in Barberville.
Kentucky.
Yeah, lived on Route 11 out of Barberville. Grew up just right out of the city limits of Barberville. And that was 74 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's your birthday?
September 19th, 1935.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so what kind of music did you listen to when you were growing up, Mr. Lundy?
I listened to country and western.
Yeah. Like who? Who's your favorite?
I really didn't have no favorites. I really didn't. I liked a lot of artists, you know. Mm-hmm. And I liked a lot of. I liked Southern gospel singing. I really enjoyed that all my life. And I really didn't have no favorites.
You listened to the radio? Is that where you got that?
Yeah, WMIK Middlesboro. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it came in.
Have live programs and stuff on there?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
where'd you go to school?
I went to Barberville High School.
Yeah.
And I went there till I was a sophomore. And my daddy got a job in Fort Pierce, Florida. And we moved from Barberville to Fort Pierce, Florida. He was a mechanic, a service manager for General Motors, and he got a job in Florida, service manager in a company there, and we moved down there when I was a junior. And I finished my my high school down there in Florida. And we moved back to Kentucky in we stayed there about 6, 7, 8 years, I guess, something like that. Come back home. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't stay away.
Couldn't stay away from the hills, save your soul.
We did, right? Yeah. So if we could just backtrack to what we were talking about earlier, can we talk about how all this started and how you began all this?
Well, I lived in Fort Pierce. I came back home and stayed here for quite some time and got married and moved back to Fort Pierce, Florida, and lived there about 14 years. I have 4 children, and they were all born in Fort Pierce, Florida. And I was very busy down there in the music business. I sung all over the state of Florida and led singing a lot of churches, and just was on television for 3.5 years, and more stations than one. And then me and my 2 sisters had radio programs, and we was sponsored by King Corn Laundromats. They had a chain of laundromats, and they sponsored our program in Florida, and we did that 4 or 5 years.
Huh.
I had a recording studio in Florida, and but I weren't happy. The Lord wanted me to move back to Kentucky, and so in 1971 I moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee from Fort Pierce, Florida. And I bought a home in Hendersonville and lived there a year and was very unhappy. And until the Lord moved me where I'm at, I moved in here in 1972 and been here ever since. And the Lord called me into full-time recording studio business in Fort Pierce, Florida, and put me here. And it's been a real thrill to. I had a lot of problems, you know. My equipment tears up just as quick as anybody's. Had a lot of problems, but it's been such a joy, you know. And I've got to meet so many people and have such a great time doing it.
So how long? So you started this in 72?
1972. Opened it in 1972.
All the way to now.
All the way to now.
And this was a garage that you studio?
It's a garage, yeah. And I rented it off of a 92-year-old telling Harry that I rented this off of a 92-year-old gentleman that built it, him and my wife's uncle. And he was 76 at that time. They built this thing. And when I moved in, I just took it over like it was mine and just started building everything I wanted to build. And people told me, said, "You're crazy, that old man run you off." And I've been here ever since.
All right. That's interesting.
Yeah, he more or less was a father to me. He had a couple girls that was just great people. One lived in Nashville and one lived out in Dallas, Texas. And I treated him like a father and he treated me like a son. And in all of our dealings, he treated me that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really fortunate.
Yeah, and just a great fellow. And he was a school superintendent in Knox County school system for a long time. He had a lot of property and had a lot of love in his heart. And he was my friend. Yeah.
So what's been your favorite part of what you do here?
My favorite part?
Yeah, what you enjoy doing the most?
Excuse me. Well, I enjoy taking an instrument and see what kind of sound I can get out of that instrument, you know. And I enjoy that, and I enjoy like taking a bunch of instruments and putting them together and making the sound I can get out of those instruments, you know. Blending those instruments, you know. And I enjoy that so much, you know. I enjoy the harmony, you know, in the music, and so that I enjoy doing it all. But I've always enjoyed taking like a bluegrass group and being able to stationary them around and make that thing come alive, you know. And we did bluegrass people from all over the country, Florida and everywhere. They'd come because they'd hear a lick on the guitar and they'd say, "How'd you get that? Where'd you get that sound?" I said, "I ain't telling you," you know. But it was just from the love of the music and wanting to do it. You know.
Well, and earlier you played us some of your family's recordings. So do you play an instrument as well, or do you just sing, or?
Well, I used to play guitar a lot, but I had cancer, terminal cancer. I'm going on 11 years since they told me that there weren't no hope for me, you know, living. And during that time, they gave me some Coumadin, and it messed up my fingers where I couldn't note. My fingers, you know, wouldn't work. And I still play, but I've been off the Coumadin about 5 or 6 years, and but I don't play like I used to. I used to play the flat top, J45 Gibson.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
My mama's J45.
Yeah. John, he had some good instruments. He sure did. Yeah.
I wonder when you were talking about liking to work with harmony and getting the most out of instruments. If you have any memory now of groups when you were growing up that you like to listen to, any particular Southern gospel groups or that inspired you to sing like you all are singing, your family is singing now?
Well, the Blackwood Brothers Quartet, Spear Family, and then the Statesman Quartet. I really loved their harmony, you know. And whenever even I was just a young boy, if the Spear Family was around somewhere, you know, or one of those groups were around, I would most definitely go try to hear them, you know. And
I know those groups pretty much had some kind of accompaniment with them, piano, and I imagine. When you were growing up here in Knox County, or somewhat later, were you all ever interested in, or did you hear a lot of unaccompanied gospel singing? Was that much in your all's? Did you?
No, we didn't do much a cappella. And people that I grew up singing. We went to had singing conventions in the county and places, you know, here. But there's always somebody there that played the guitar, or you know, and the upright bass and the piano. And I sung when I was growing up. My sister, oldest sister, she played the piano, and she still does, exceptionally great. She could, you know.
What's her name?
Janice Bingham, Janice Lundy Bingham.
Oh, Bingham? Knox County Bingham.
Yeah. And she still lives here, and she plays. She can play the piano just out of this world. She plays by ear or music or any way, transpose any way you want it. She can play it. She's played a lot in the studio here. She's helped me make a living, and she's just a great musician. And she played a lot for the singing conventions and things like that.
Were you? I've not got my chronology real good here, but Janice played with a group called the Melody Five and the Pritchard Quartet.
Right.
Was that when you were around?
Right.
Did you know that group?
Yes.
John Miles. And,
yeah. Barbara John Miles. Yeah, she played for them. Yeah.
Did they ever record here? Or was that too early for you?
That was before. That's before I married. Yeah, that's before she married. Yeah. And she helped them start, you know, and some of those folks has passed away, you know, and but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, sure am. She played for them, and then we sang on radio a lot. People, we go and sing on the radio Sundays and whatever, you know. Have
your family.
Yeah. And then I won I had a contest in town, a country music contest, and I won. Me and my boy won it together, and we split the record. It's called Dixie Label, and it's highly sought after today.
Oh, cool.
And I'm on one side and he's on the other side. And there's one on the internet a few days ago that it's highly sought after. Ain't that something?
That's something.
I only got, and my sister played in, Janice, she played the piano on the talent show. Zeke Clemons was a country music star, and Zeke run the show. And
in Florida?
No, Barberville.
Oh.
The old Mitchell Theater burnt down a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember that?
Yeah.
So we won this contest, and we was supposed to be put on a major label, you know. And so Dixie was owned by Star Day, and Dixie label had Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw Hawkins, Patsy Cline, if I'm correct, and all those artists on there. And they put me and Orange Ray Hubbard on the same label, Dixie label, see. So collectors wanted to get all that collection together. And they only made, like, I only got 25 of these records whenever they was made, you see. And Orange Ray, the other fellow's on the other side, that's what he got, I think. And I was dating my wife at this time, and I give her a copy, signed it, you know, give her a copy, and she still has it. And we had 2 or 3 of them, you know, and but they're highly sought after because they can get all these other big artists, but they can't get me an Orange Ray, see. So they advertise in a new local paper here, wanting our records and so on and so forth, and they was one on the internet that sold just recently for, I won't tell how much it brought you.
How much?
I ain't gonna tell. You'd think I was lying. So
we've got Orangey Ray on our discography.
He'd be a good one to interview. Yeah.
You mentioned another sister that also plays music. What's her name? What's she play?
Well, the other sister, she played piano and sung tenor. I sung the white trio in Florida. Me and my sister Janice, and my sister Vivian, and myself. we all lived in Florida at this time. That's the time when I lived in Florida when my family was born down there. And we sung on television and radio. We had a radio program. Like I said, we was on King Corn Laundromat sponsored us, and Vivian, she played the piano, and she sang the high part, and we sang in a lot of places.
Did your parents play as well? I mean, is that where you all?
My daddy couldn't hold a tune in a wash bucket, but he loved music though.
Okay.
He loved music. When I was a young boy, like Harry brought up about the Pritchards and the Mileses and my sister played for, you know. My daddy we bought a Wurlitzer piano, and they paid $27.50 a month for it, and it's a long time, it's a lot of money, but they bought the piano for us, and my daddy hauled it out of our house many a time to places where they could use that piano in doing concerts and stuff, you know. And so we just had a ball. But anyway, we lived in Florida, and we sang, and me and Janice and Vivian. And Vivian she went to University of Florida College, and she was dean of nurse in Western Carolina University till she retired. And she had a high roller job.
Yeah, it's a high roller job.
Yeah. And my sister Janice lives here in Barberville, and she's a she's a high roller.
Yeah.
And I'm a low roller.
I'm with you.
And so we just had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Does Janice ever come in and play?
Yeah. She plays in the church I go. She plays organ in the church where I go to church now. Her daughter plays the piano, and I have a young lady that's she's my baby girl. She's family court judge in Oxnard County.
Oh.
And she's had that job for some time, and she plays the piano, and she travels and sings with us. And then my oldest girl, she's works in the hospital. She keeps records or something, and went to Eastern.
That's where I went.
And but she plays the piano very good and sings. And then the judge has got a twin brother, and he's an architect designer, and he plays the piano and plays the mandolin and plays the flat top. And but he didn't start playing the piano until we started singing as a group, and he started playing the keyboard. He plays the keyboard for us all the time now, most of the time. And then my oldest son, I believe I've covered them all, he plays drums and rhythm, flat top, lead, and bass, and a lot of things. And they're exceptionally good engineers. My two sons, they're real good engineers.
Yeah, they come in here and mix.
They come in here and record a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are their names?
Oh, I'm sorry. David Lundy Lawson is the judge, and she lives down around Corbin. And her twin brother's Duran Allen Lundy. He lives up here on the hill back of us. And then my oldest daughter, Deidre, she lives down at Swan Pond, and she's 45, something like that. And then my oldest son, he's a nurse. He's a RN down at the hospital.
Oh yeah.
And that's about it. Did I get them all right?
Too?
Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
His name's David Dwayne Lundy.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's the one that has the daughter. My granddaughter's in Florida in college, and the rest of them's around here.
And you say your sons help run the studio?
Yeah.
Is that their kind of side job, so to speak?
Yeah.
They probably grew up running around in here.
Yeah. Played a lot of music in here, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in 38 years, how many recordings, how many musicians? I mean, I can't even imagine how much you must have produced. Do you have any idea?
I sure don't. No, a lot of it. We produced a lot.
Have you saved all of it?
No. I wish I had, but I saved a lot of the reel-to-reels. I was telling Harry I have a lot of those masters laid up, 1/4 inch. I have a lot of those, and he was giving me some hints on how to preserve it, you know, and use it. I have a lot of those on, but I sure don't. I wish I did. Like Jimmy Jackson, I played you some of that, you know. It was done 20 years ago. Well, I don't remember the musicians that helped Jimmy, you know. I know some of them, you know. Some of the boys worked at Renfro Valley, and some of them, the keyboard fellow was from Somerset, and I think my son played the drums on it, and I don't remember it all, sure don't.
Other than your family, were there other people who played regularly as studio musicians?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, here? Oh yeah, yeah.
Who are some of those people?
Jerry, Don Gully. He played at Renfro Valley for a long time.
What did he play?
Don played, he played a flat top, picked a little flat top, and had a Martin guitar that he played flat top on. Then he had a Gibson that he played, I believe I'm right, had it high strung, you know, give it that different sound, and he played that here, played a lot. And his son Steve played bass. He played here a lot, and boy played on the Grand Ole Opry. He just retired off the Opry. He played here 4 years. His name slips my mind. He retired, moved back to Harlan, Kentucky. I think of his name at the moment.
Yeah, it'll come.
And I just hired Widener, fellow lives down in Corbin, played steel guitar here for many years. Jerry Evans from over in Harrogate, Tennessee, played steel guitar here, played lead guitar here, and still do, and just musicians from everywhere, and a lot of great musicians in this country, you know, and people that can really, like John Reedy, you know, just gifted people, you know.
Yeah, how'd you hook up with? Yeah, how did you come about knowing John and Frances?
Well, John came here. He came here. Him and Frances came here, and helped somebody that was recording, and he was recording, I think, up in Cincinnati or somewhere.
At Jewel.
Maybe at Jewel with Rusty York. Yeah. And he came here with somebody to help him record, and I believe John was singing some harmony, or I believe there were, and maybe John playing the guitar, and he come in, and he just liked the sound I got here, and I did a lot of recording for him. Yeah. And the reason why I kind of giggled to think about Rusty York of Jewel Recording Studio, he always carried a sorry, I didn't mean to touch that thing. He carried a screwdriver in his pocket, and he'd come in here, and I'd have, like, I used to keep a lot of microphones here. I don't. I keep them in a vault anymore, you know. And I had an old RCA microphone, one of the 77DXs, a highly sought after microphone. And I had that in there, and he jerked that screwdriver out of his shirt pocket, and he reached down there and said, "Listen, it needs to be set on such and such, you know." And he had a different impedance. You could turn it on, you know. He said, "This where's got the best sound." He cranked it right over there for me, you know. So I just left it alone, you know. He's just a great fellow. He's originally from Harlan, Kentucky.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And he had a lot of success in the studio business up in Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's the name, little town out there he was in. Not in Cincinnati, but I'll think of it in a minute. But
Mount Pleasant?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, somebody told us he lives in Nashville now.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to...
No, I believe he's still in Cincinnati.
Oh, is it? Oh, no,
it's
I'm
Jack
thinking
Lynch.
of Jack Lynch. He moved to
Yeah,
Nashville.
yeah.
Okay.
Rusty still lives right there. He sold his studio out just a few months ago. Yeah.
So the studio's still running, but he...
I think he closed it.
Oh, okay.
I think he sold the equipment out and quit. Yeah.
We mentioned Harlan. Were there any other musicians that you recorded that were from
I
Harlan?
recorded a lot of people from Harlan, Cumberland, all through that country. But
the Reedys were originally from Harlan, and Harry says that there's not a lot of good documentation on musicians from Harlan, even though there's a lot of really good ones. Do you remember any of the bands from Harlan?
Wasn't a lot of well, I didn't do a lot of stuff out of Harlan.
Okay.
All of my work came from. Well, I did some out of like Cumberland, yeah, but nothing. Well, I did quite a bit. Come think about it, out of Harlan, but not a lot of real solid musicians come out of that country up in there. They mostly come out of like this area and Tennessee and around, you know. Instead of weren't many came out of Harlan.
So you met the Reedys when they were coming to record with somebody else. What else do you remember about them?
They're great people. Yeah, great people. John and Frances was just fine as they could be. If whatever they told you, you could write it down in the book, you know. And it didn't make no never mind. They did, you know, they kept their ducks in a row, and John was a great songwriter. I tell you, he was a great songwriter. I wish I'd have got to publish him. I didn't think I got to publish any of his stuff, but I did. I got some singles here that I did for him, and I got publishing on some of them. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And
What you got?
Do you remember when those 45s were recorded?
yeah, I sure do. I got more records than you can shake a stick at. I even got a picture of that ugly fella right there.
Let me see that picture of that ugly fella.
Right there he is.
That's him. He's cute as pie. That's at his house. That's at the house in Corbin.
I did an album for him, Hymns from the Hills of Harlan County, Kentucky.
Yes.
When was that?
7/15/77. 7/15/77.
Oh, so you
Cost him $481.28 to make those things.
Your studio was 5 years old.
Yeah.
What would be the steps that were taken in this? Just tracing it through from him coming to do the recording, then what happened to the point where you had the 45 disc ready to sell in the store or to fans. What was the mechanics of the industry at the time?
Well, we brought the group in that was going to record, and then we recorded them. You know, we take whatever the time limit to record them. You know, and then when we got them recorded, and we came back in the studio and remixed it all, and with the help of we did very little. We always had, in other words, like John, for instance, he'd come in and record, and he'd say, "I'll see you." In other words, he didn't want to be involved in the mixing. He'd put all that load on me, you know. And if the flat top weren't hardly up enough, you know, he'd say, "That needs to be brought up." I said, "You should have been here when I mixed it," you know. But and a lot of folks would want to stay here when we mixed, and that would be some of the mechanics. You know, we would record it, and then mix it, and then make our master. And then after we got the master made, we would lay out all the artwork. If we was doing an album or 8-track tape or whatever, or a CD, we'd do all the artwork and get all that laid out. And then when we get that done, then my client has to approve all of the artwork, any misspelt words and all this sort of stuff. We won't take that responsibility. And then after that's done, then we take like if we was doing a 45, we'd take the master and we'd have an acetate made, you know, have it cut on the lay.
Where did you take it to from Barberville?
I took it to I worked to Cincinnati, to Archivist Recording Studio, That's some of these bills here from artists. And they would cut them acetate or the master, and then they would take that and put it in a chemical and make what they call the mother, like you see on the wall in there. And then they'd take that and press the record. See, and we'd make the label, and then we'd get them ready for the market. That's the way we did it, you know. Albums is a little harder because all the artwork we had to do on them and all the fabrication and stuff.
When you say artwork, does that mean work that you did yourself?
No. Yeah, we did all the layouts and all this, and a lot of times I'd take it over to the local Barberville Advocate and have them shoot it for me, all the, you know, and that's what I'd put on the album or whatever, you know. But now the artwork, we did all the label work on the 45. See, this is John's 45. John Reedy and Stone Mountain Trio, Summer's Gone. See, the artwork we did, but the one that pressed the record did the rest of the artwork, especially on the 45 for me.
And do you know when those 45s were produced? Was that before or after the LP?
That's after.
After. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they were done in, some of them was done in, let's see. I'll tell you here in just a minute. Summer's Gone, 76. It was done before, yeah, 76. Cherokee Lady was done in 78. We were done in 76, 77, and 78. 1970. John had to be old.
He was getting older.
Yeah, he's getting older every day.
Yeah, because
me too.
He only made it 5 more years past that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we were curious because in the collection that Timi had from her mama, we also found an 8-track tape, which doesn't have any studio name on it, but it's with John Reedy and the Brush Creek Grass. Yes. Was that one that you recorded?
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that.
Do you remember when that was?
Don't have any idea. It's not in my file.
But that was you. We figured it maybe was because
I believe I did that. I believe I did that, but I don't have any. John he might have been one of the masters. He took out of here and had somebody make the 8-tracks. I don't remember. We manufactured 8-track tapes for a long time until they went out, you know.
Well, are you familiar with that band? Because
yeah, but Brush Creek Grass.
Where are they from?
They're from Knox County, okay. And they live up in the area called KJ area. Trosper, up through that country. They up in there.
Okay.
And
so they were a band.
There's a Bluegrass
To themselves. That
yes,
you
right.
Recorded with.
Yeah,
okay.
they just helped John do that, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they was there's Charlie Bays, Doug Hammonds, Charlie Bays, Doug Hammonds, Don Frederick, Starlin Hembry, and one more. But anyway, there was 5 of them in that band, and Doug Hammonds was a local banker, and there was a drug addict about 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, run him down on a motorcycle and killed him. Starlin Hembry played the mandolin that we have. I have one of Starlin's mandolins that he had 2 mandolins he loved, and before he passed away about a year or so ago, and I have one of his mandolins. He's one of the fine. He picked here a lot. Starlin did. Charlie Bays played guitar, rhythm guitar, and lead country guitar. He was one of the best, and still is one of the best in the United States. He played here a lot, and that's part of the Brush Creek Grass. I recorded. I believe I have an 8-track tape of the Brush Creek Grass, if I'm not mistaken.
They could pick, you know.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of good pickers like that through this country, and but that's the story on the Brush Creek Grass.
Well, that's great, because we'd love to talk to any of them and get their memories. And
did you ever hear of Lonzo Honeycutt picking a mandolin?
Mm-hmm.
You knew who he was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was with my grandparents a whole lot, picking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah. And but it's just been a good race for me, you know.
Well, we learned earlier that your wife, Viola, so your 45 label is named after her, Viola Records. But she also mentioned that you were trying to digitize some of your older recordings. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about updating some of those audio files for new technology?
Yeah, we're in our spare time, especially like in the winter time. Well, we've been real busy though. But anyway, we're going through our records and trying to get I also collect, you know. I collect anything locally, you know, I collect it. If I find anywhere, I collect it. I've got a lot of it. And so we've been going through what we did, what we have, and trying to archive them. You know, we're putting it down on CD, and we've been doing that now for some time, and going to continue to do that. And then after we get all the records we've got archived, we're going to start on a lot of our masters we have and start archiving them.
So do you have?
If I live long enough, I don't know if I live long enough or not.
Do you have any plans to re-release any of those older recordings on CD, or?
Not really. Some of them I have permission to do that, some of them I don't. You know, stuff that I have a publishing company. I started it at the same time I started the studio, and I have.
What's it? The name of that?
It's Lundy Music, okay. BMI, and I've had it since 1971. I started before I started the studio. I made a mistake. I started in Florida, and I've had that publishing company many a day. Now the songs that I have like that, then I can do what I want to with them, you know. But not a lot of stuff that I made a lot of masters and stuff for people that they just pay me to make them, you know.
Yeah, then they have the rights.
They have the rights to them. Yeah.
Well, Harry also mentioned that you have an extensive archive, not just in this building, but you have like storage outside. So how much, I mean, I know you said you couldn't remember how many recordings, but I mean, how much space does all of your archives take?
Well, not a lot. Not a lot. You know, you could put 10 or 12 songs on a little bitty master, and it's 1/4 inch thick, so you can stack up 100. And you know, I've got a lot over there, probably on 8-track, on cassette masters. We manufactured cassettes for a long time. In fact, I still have all the equipment we manufactured with, and we probably got I don't know, a lot of 8-track masters made for cassette duplicating. We have a cassette duplicator that we will usually run about 15 to 2,000 cassettes a day, and we have a lot of those masters. You know, and they was not only from this studio, but studios all over the country. You know, that we did cassettes for, and a lot of different music there, mountain music. You know, yeah. And then we have a lot of stuff stored on 1/4 inch. We have a lot of stuff. It's just different ways, you know.
You said mountain music just now. Is that a term? Do you have a definition for mountain music different from some of the other music you all record and play?
Well, mountain music to me would be bluegrass music.
Okay.
Plus, mountain music to me would be people would come in with dulcimers and hammer dulcimers and spoons and bones and stuff like that, and we did a lot of that type of music. You know, it's a real mountain music where they do the fiddle and go take the spoons and beat them together. You know, we did a lot of that type of recording, which is wonderful, huh?
Washboards.
Yeah, washboards. Yeah, and we did all that. And
can you remember some of the people or some of the group names or where they were from or why they wanted to record?
No, I remember some of the people's names.
Yeah.
You know, one of them was Randy Wilson.
Yeah.
I know Randy. Yeah.
And Randy, I produced a lot of stuff for Randy and Redbird Mission and just a lot of people back in that country. You know, back in Hazard, Hyden, back in there, and Pine Mountain Settlement people and stuff like that. Just had a ball. And but I don't remember all their names, though.
Would that be included in some of the masters?
I don't know. I don't know. I got one, you know, that what's the song about the groundhog? You know, shoe fly shoe and all that. You know, it's a real mountain cassette. We did a cassette of that, and Redbird Mission sold it, and they sold it all over the United States and Canada. We produced cassettes on that, and it sold unreal.
Yeah.
And but they have a tourist place over there, I think, you know, and I'm sure it's still over. I haven't been over there in a while, but we record a little bit of everything.
We took in my grandparents' 8-track masters, and Harry and them had this reel reels. Yeah, they have this oven where they took. Do you know about that?
He's telling me about that. I was telling him I had a friend down in Churchill, Tennessee, that had a company kind of like mine, and he figured out how to do that, and I never had, but I'm going to go look at that.
It brought out the sound. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, things I thought were lost.
Yeah, right, yeah. Because I want to take my stuff that I have and be able to archive it.
Right.
Put it down on digital, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time doing that. You know, you take an old 8-track, got all that noise in it, and popping and cracking and all that, or get a record that's got all that popping and cracking, you can take a lot of that out there, and it takes a lot of time to do that. You know, you just don't do it in 30 seconds. You know?
Definitely.
But
you know what else I think? I don't know if on our discography or not it's there, but we might have that one. We might have 145 from Dixie label, I think. And I think it might be that Orangey Ray Hubbard. I swear I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you have it at?
Well, my mama collected all those 45s.
Yeah.
And so we've been you know, writing down the labels and who it was and stuff and adding that to the list. We're donating that to the college. And so if it's there, I'll get you a copy of that.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, I'd love to have that, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be on digital probably.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll trade you John's for it.
you got it.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm not going to get rid of John's now. No.
Yeah.
No.
So do you have a lot of collectors contacting you? You were talking about that 45 and how much in demand that was. So you have people contacting you for because you're a collector or because of your studio or?
Just because of the collection I have, right. Stuff that we did and most of the stuff we did, right. Yeah. People call me all the time wanting to buy it and whatever, you know, but we won't. I just won't sell none of it.
That's the way we've been.
I need the money, but I don't need it that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I ain't gonna sell my stuff. My kids, they can dispose of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might sell copies of stuff we've got, but we're trying to preserve it.
Right.
That's Berea College comes in. 'Cause
Right.
it's in a place where it's.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought my mama and papa would prefer that, where people hear it always.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like all the dulcimer music and all the music I've recorded out of these hills and stuff. You know, people try to buy it all the time. You know, get a hold of the master, but I ain't gonna let them. You know, I ain't gonna do it. I'm just gonna preserve it and let it go. You know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I mean, you've given us a lot of information about musicians who've recorded here and other people that you've worked with. Is there anybody else that you can think of that maybe played with them or knew about them, or anybody living that we might talk to? Because, I mean, you've given us a lot of names and we'll certainly write those down, but if there's anybody locally or...
Grab that thing up there. That's somebody wanting to record. Come in here, honey, I'm tired, and you can talk a while. Oh.
Well,
oh yeah, back to that question.
Yeah, so our question was...
We were thinking Homer Lee Jackson.
Yeah,
people
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Is there anybody you can think
else?
I'd go see Homer Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
And asked Homer Lee who to go see.
Yeah, because he knows people too.
Yeah.
But he'd be the main one, or anybody else?
Homer Lee. Yeah.
And he's still around here?
He lives, yeah. Yeah.
Disc jockey on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, there's Ray Hoskins. Lives over in Monticello, I believe now, from this area.
He recorded too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was in here not long ago, plays bass and stuff, you know, and he got a boy named Dallas, and they do bluegrass, and he's got a label called Laurel Leaf.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those 45s.
Yeah, that's Ray, and he would be a great fellow to interview, and he could give you more information I ever thought about.
All right, that's great.
And
he lives over in Monticello.
I believe I have his phone number.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to connect with him too. And I just got one of those 45s from his label.
Yeah, I believe I got a Laurel Leaf, and I believe I found one in a junk store or something. I got one. Yeah.
Yeah. Mama saved all that stuff.
Bless her heart.
Yeah.
If she wants to get rid of that Dixie record, you tell her I want it.
Well, speaking of labels, you know, one of the things that we've been doing, we've been scanning the labels so that we have an image of it. And there's some collectors on the internet who post, you know, pretty comprehensive databases about that. And we did find there's at least 145 in that collection from a label called B Atlas. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Because there's not a lot
We didn't know where it
of
was.
information about it, where it was located, and so it's kind of obscure, and we're not really sure where to.
B Atlas.
B slash
dash Atlas, letter B.
Slash.
So it's
That's
not
one we
1
don't
year,
know.
so it's maybe even more obscure than we thought. But
I haven't heard of that.
okay.
I was over in Jackson 2 or 3 months ago on some business, and I went into a junk store, and I found a lot of old records in that place that I never dreamed of, you know, like Ampex. You know, Ampex made real recorders and all this for years, and I found an Ampex record, Ampex label, you know, and I bought several records out of that.
Brought that home.
Yeah.
In Breathitt County?
Jackson, just a few miles out of Hazard. And so I love to collect. My wife said, "What are you buying that for?" I said, but
Did any of the people that record radio programs that they, you know, that format that they would play back on other station, one or more stations?
yes, very good. Yes, that's a very good question. We did that a lot. We had groups that come in. We did like a 30-minute radio program. We'd tape it here, and they'd take it and distribute it on radio stations. We make copies of more than that one program, you know, duplicate it, and they would put it on different radio stations at different times. And how else did we do that? Yeah, preachers. a lot of evangelists would come in and did radio programs, and we recorded a lot of that, which was hard to do. Because it's hard to a preacher come in and do a radio program and do 30 minutes and just him doing it, you know. It kind of got a little, it's hard to do. But anyway, we did a lot of that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were there any particular ones that went on for several, you know, an extended time that you came and went with you?
Well, we...
was it local radio shows or far away? Or?
Well, it was, they did them on a lot of stations, you know, more than just in my area. They did them, you know, Tennessee, a lot of reached quite a ways out, you know, with their work, you know. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of that, and we ain't done none of that in a long time, though. But we did that.
I guess the one other question for locally that I was wondering about, I know we talked earlier about the fact that you had worked with A.L. Phipps. Mm-hmm. Back in the, I think it was the 80s maybe, he had a folk festival here.
Yeah. And
they turned out an LP record out of that.
Right.
Were you involved with that recording?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen the album. So I've seen the album cover, but I haven't been able to find the disc itself. And,
when Mr. Phipps passed away, he had some equipment of mine. I didn't even have a real old. His wife Kathleen got sick, and he came to me and he wanted to borrow a real high dollar old microphone to record Kathleen while she was able, you know. And I let Mr. Phipps have it. And when he passed away, he was killed, you know.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, the family just moved in, and all of his merchandise was just gone, you know. That's what some of the family tells me. In fact, that's what happened. And but I was involved in that album. I was involved in all that. I recorded every bit of that. From the time it started in the morning till it quit 12 o'clock at night, I was involved in all that. And I took a machine, I did a remote on it, went out and did it all, and then when it's all said and done, then we came in the studio and edited for a long time and made the LP. Mm-hmm. I never did get a copy. I'm like you, I didn't get a copy of that. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I never did get a copy of it. We used how much we ordered. We recorded on a 1/4-inch stereo machine, Ampex AG440B, and had all their mixers and everything, you know, and did the sound on the thing and recorded it all, and what you were speaking about, and then we edited it and made an LP, but I never did get a copy. I'm like you, I'd love to have a copy of it, but I don't guess I could ever find it, because his kids, when he passed away, he had a building in the back of his home was just full of all of his stuff, and then another building over here was full of his stuff, and they never would give me my microphone or anything, and all that's down the tubes.
You can ask some of them about it, and they'd say, well, I think so-and-so got it.
Yeah.
Never could track it down.
No, they would never let me have it, you know. I just don't know.
Did they release that LP? Is it?
I just don't know. I don't know.
We're near the end of our tape, and we can definitely continue on another tape if we need to. But is there anything else that we might be missing, or anything else you absolutely need
Well, I've
to
enjoyed
say?
doing it.
I sure have enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed doing it, and John Reedy is certainly worth archiving. If there ever was one, he's really worth it, and I'm glad and thankful that you're doing that. You know, sure am. And it's a blessing to know him, and he was a good Christian man. Him, you know, and I'll see him someday in heaven. You know, that's the best thing about the whole deal. And then he won't be able to play a guitar better than me there. That's for sure. Down here he can play circles around this old country boy, but up there he won't be. He played a Gibson, I believe, and I've got a J45 Gibson. But anyway, just a joy. My trip in this studio has been. It hadn't been the most financial thing in the world, because when you get one piece of equipment paid for, you got to buy another one, you know, and it's been a sled road, but I've sure enjoyed it, you know. And I've got, the Lord's blessed me. I got a great family, and He's blessed my family and me, and it's just been good. Been good.
We thank you.
Been good to know of people like John Reedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I'd have got to publish an Old Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we sure do appreciate your time. It's been really, really fun, and we'll certainly be in touch and make sure you get a copy of this video
Thank you.
and some other stuff.